Hey guys, David Patrick Green here, and I've got a really special video for you today because an area that I am now delving into more is how to create relationships with really powerful people. I'm talking about the highest level of people, including the leaders of countries, of cities, of states, of governments, people who run corporations, movie studios. It really doesn't matter, but I'm talking about those people who you read about in the paper, who you read about in your favorite website. If it's entertainment, maybe like Deadline.com, Hollywood Reporter, etc. And I know a lot of these people, so I wanted to share with you today a little bit about how you can create these relationships, why I'm able to have relationships with people like this, and how you can perhaps try to take a little bit from what I'm telling you and apply it to your own particular situation so you can start to develop relationships with some of the most powerful people on the planet, not because they're going to do great favors for you, but because when you know people like this, it generally can only benefit you because other people will trust you a lot more when they find that you know people like this. And the people that you know often will have opportunities where they will think of you to get involved. So before we get started, please do the usual like, subscribe, share. If you want to work with me in some capacity, please reach out to dpg@davidpatrickgreen.com, and let's get started. Okay, so you're probably wondering if I'm completely full of it, or who am I actually talking about? Who do I actually know? And this is a pretty good one. I'm just going to give you one example, but honestly, I know a lot of people like this. I know multiple billionaire people. Not that I'm impressed by the fact that they're billionaires, but they've done some pretty cool stuff with their life. And I have introduced myself to some of these people, and I have been introduced to some of these people. And honestly, either way works just fine. It's really how you approach it that will make all the difference in the world. So I'm just going to give you an example of somebody who I just met and stayed with. I don't know that I really want to share their actual name because people like this don't need me to use their name so that people say, oh, did you know David Patrick Green said this about you or whatever. So I'm just going to say this person was one of the leaders of the free world. Okay, not that long ago. They were one of the leaders of the free world. And I was introduced to them, actually to one of their wives. And through the wife, I met the husband, who happened to be one of the leaders of the free world. I also met the rest of their family. And in fact, I stayed at their house. So while some of you are probably thinking, wow, that's really amazing and that's so cool. And you might even be thinking to yourself, well, if I was with one of these people, I would really just want to tell them how amazing they are, or I'd want to ask them a bunch of questions about their past and all that kind of stuff. And that's where most people go completely wrong. So here is the trick to not really just meeting them, but when you do meet them, and these things go hand in hand, but you will get introduced to these people, and people will like you if you know how to be cool. Meaning you don't make a big deal out of who they are, because nobody really wants to spend time around a fan. Okay? So you have to believe in yourself enough to know that you have interesting things to say, that you have some kind of personality that people maybe enjoy, and that maybe you know something about what these people are interested in so you can potentially talk about things you may have in common, right? So a little research ahead of time will really help. Honestly, I didn't do that because I'm sort of at the stage where I'm completely comfortable meeting anybody. And I also have a pretty good sense of humor so that I can get almost anybody laughing, because I will say something completely stupid or ridiculous and they know it's stupid and ridiculous, and so they get a kick out of it. And that's pretty much how I roll, and it works really well for me. But that isn't necessarily how you have to roll or how you should roll. But you do need to learn how to be cool. Okay, and to borrow a line from Pulp Fiction, Samuel Jackson said to one of the prospective drug dealers, actually, no, it was Honey Bunny. It was during the robbery of the cafeteria, the cafe. He said, "We're all going to be like Fonzie, right?" And she's like, "Huh?" And he's like, and she goes, "What?" And he's like, "We're going to be just like Fonzie, right? And what is Fonzie?" And she's like, "Cool." And he goes, "That's right, Honey Bunny. Fonzie's cool." So you've got to learn how to be cool. You've got to learn how to not make a big deal out of being around people. Don't be one of these people who gets selfies taken with everyone. That's honestly, I guess maybe it's flattering, but it's not how you build a relationship, asking someone to get a selfie. So this is kind of one of those, long-term investment strategy, okay? Don't go for the selfie so that you can post it right away. Get to know the person. Take an interest in the person. Talk to the person. I wouldn't get into a big argument with the person, which is actually kind of what the person I was with did, because it's unnecessary. You don't have to agree with someone's politics to enjoy their company. You don't have to prove yourself smart by calling them out on an opinion that you think they may have. Allow people to have their flaws. And when you get really good friends with this person, if you want to debate them or you want to ask them questions, that's what I would be doing. Rather than argue with them, I would maybe ask them questions about their policies and their theories, their philosophies. And then maybe I would dig into them more, and I would ask them in a way that wasn't confrontational, but maybe say, well, if that is true, then why blah, blah, blah. And I found that when you approach things like that, they know where the flaws are in their arguments already. Okay, it's not the first time they've heard it, and they will say, well, yes, you're absolutely right. That isn't sustainable, but it's better than the situation we have. And until we can come up with something better, yada, yada, yada. And I have to get elected first, and all of those kinds of statements. So the way you are cool is to be enjoyable, to be interested, and also to be interesting, but to not grill somebody on what was it like when you did this? What was it like when that's fanboy questions. That's sort of at Comic-Con sitting on a panel and a bunch of people are like, "Hi, what was it like to work with Mark Hamill? What was it like to play Darth Vader?" Those are just kind of lame questions that everybody asks, just like reporters ask. What was it like to work with Keanu Reeves, right? They're the lame questions that everybody assumes, everybody would want to know from a fan's point of view because we're in awe of them. But if you met an accountant, you wouldn't be asking them these questions. And so what you have to realize is these people just have regular jobs, or they do regular things. They run a business, whatever it is. But ask them questions that might be interesting to them, or talk to them about things that might be interesting to them. Like say, "Oh, do you play tennis? Because I thought I saw a tennis racket when I came in." "Yes." "Oh, have you been playing a long time?" "Yes, I'm an avid tennis player." "Oh, really? Well, actually, I used to be pretty good myself when I was a kid. Maybe we should try playing sometime." "Oh, yeah, that would be fun. I would love that." Right? That's a great conversation. "Do you follow tennis still? Did you watch Wimbledon?" blah, blah, blah. This can be checkers. This can be dominoes. This can be reading, anything of interest. So are you from here? No, I'm from, Minnesota. Oh, did you go to school there? Are you a gopher? No, I went to school in South Carolina. Oh, which school? So and so. Oh, I've never heard of that. What kind of a school is that? Right? Like, this is conversation that isn't asked every single day by fans and media people and all that, right? So this is how you can have a relationship with people like that, is to take an interest and be both interested and interesting, right? So they tell you something about themselves and you add to it. It's like improv. If you're an actor and you've studied any improvisation, the big thing is to yes and people. So when somebody comes up with something out of thin air, like, I think the soup is too salty, and you're like, I have no idea. We're talking about soup, but you don't say, what are you talking about? Because you didn't see any soup around. You say, yes, I do think it might be salty, a little too salty. And I think we should pour the whole thing over the castle wall onto those invaders down there, right? So you just added yes, it's salty, and now you are in a castle and there's people trying to invade the castle. So that's what you should try to do to get to know people like this, because they naturally, generally have inquisitive minds. They're knowledgeable. They have studied a lot. They work hard. And if you can find a way to have a good conversation with them, typically they will enjoy that. Now the big question is, what do you do when you get to know somebody like this? When you get introduced to them, either online or you introduce yourself online? Let's just take a step back and talk about introducing yourself. Because if somebody else introduces you, that's fine, but you can't necessarily control that other than being cool with them, which is why people do introduce me to people like this, because they think I'm cool enough to hang out with them and not act silly, act foolish, act gawky over them. So to introduce yourself, which I have also done, again, you don't treat the person like they're some big superstar. You treat them like a normal human and you take an interest in them. So for instance, I introduced myself to the owner of a sports team who happens to be a billionaire, and I had already involved myself in his organization a little bit. I'm sure he wasn't aware of it, but I just found him on LinkedIn and I said, hey, I'm one of your ambassadors. And, I don't live far from where I imagine you work, so we should grab a beer sometime. He doesn't have to say yes to that, but it was just sort of a fun reach out. I probably said something, yes, I'm a fellow athlete in the same sport. This is a little bit of my history. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of building a picture in their mind, which builds trust in their mind, because it's not that hard to verify what I'm saying. And would I go to all that trouble just to have a beer with them? I don't know, maybe. But if he doesn't get approached like that very often, he's probably not super paranoid about it. And he wasn't. And he said, oh, yeah, for sure, let's grab a beer. Why don't you come down to my restaurant? I didn't know he owned a restaurant. Come down to my restaurant and meet me on the patio. So I met him on the patio, and a lot of things took place. Like, we had a great time together. And also I had the opportunity to introduce him to other people that I knew that I thought could help him. And that's another way you can not only meet and get to know, but deepen the relationship with people at the highest level, is find some way you think you could help them. So as it happened, I've been using my noodle and I'm talking to this person, and I said, have you ever thought of doing a reality show? Because he had just taken on one of the most successful players in their sport. They just signed a big, huge contract. And I said, have you ever thought about doing some kind of reality show about that? And he said, it's crossed my mind, and I happened to know a pretty successful reality show producer, and I was actually working with them. So I said, would you like to meet this person? We could talk about it. Oh, absolutely. So again, that improved my relationship with this person because I was thinking of how I could help him. And I was also thinking of how I can bring in resources that potentially could really help his organization. And he really appreciated that. And listen, that was just before the global COVID pandemic took place, and a lot of bad things happened, or at least bad for his business. And none of these initiatives came to fruition, but I certainly feel comfortable and confident that at any time, if I have another idea for this person or another reason that we should get together, that he would be more than amenable to that. So anyway, I hope this was helpful in giving you some ideas of not only how you can meet these people, but also how to conduct yourself around these people so that they would probably like to spend more time with you, or they would like you to be involved in what they do. And, generally speaking, that's the reason we would do something like this, not just to be a fan, but because we want to be involved in what they're doing. So let me know if this was helpful. Again, this is why I am the best coach in Hollywood and around the world when it comes to helping people create relationships, get jobs, network, just improve the state of their lives. Okay, this is why I'm the best at that, because I think at a level almost nobody else thinks of. I help people at very, very high levels every single day. I also work with people at lower levels, and I try to get their thinking up to that high level. So if this appeals to you, get in touch, dpg@davidpatrickgreen.com, and give me a like. Please subscribe, please. Well, subscribe for your own benefit, because I am, I'm spreading the gold around. And if you have any questions or comments, or you think you could share an experience where you've met somebody and you either, totally blew it, or you totally made something great out of it, I'd love to see that in the comments section below, because adding value is literally the best thing you can do in your own relationship. So by putting a comment in the comment section below, you can start to get into the practice of figuring out how you can add value. So ask yourself, how could you add value to this video and to me and the people that watch these videos? And that will be a great start for you on your road to meeting phenomenal, successful, interesting, intellectual people from around the world. All right, and I will talk to you soon.